Shalom. This is Rabbi Yehoshaphat Oliver. Not long ago, before COVID, in New York, the religious exemption for vaccines was removed. And this was, in this were involved Jewish community leaders and rabbis who either involved or they were silent and allowed it to happen when they could have stopped it. And the supposed justification for it was, for the sake of health, life is in danger. Why was denying parents who were rightly suspicious of various shots, childhood shots, their right to have their children attend Jewish school? Why was this so wrong from the beginning? Because it was never as straightforward as they told us. It was never purely about health, and the danger that they claimed existed without the shot was always exaggerated. This whole childhood shots agenda was always political. It always stank. If these shots were so necessary, then why were there not masses of dead children all the time before the shots? It's not so. Measles did not cause mass death before the shots. And parents were entitled to know what were the long-term side effects and to be concerned about what was written on the insert and about the various reports that they had heard of various injuries and various long-term effects that appeared to be correlated with the shots, and so on. So it was never straightforward that these shots were safe, necessary, and effective. This was never undisputed truth. It was always the establishment that said so, based on their claimed authority. But they're not the arbiters of truth and reality. They are very fallible and very corruptible people with gross conflicts of interest. And therefore, those parents who were skeptical, those parents who felt that their children's safety was at risk, were fully entitled to feel that and to take advantage of a religious exemption that existed in order to protect their children from harm, which is a prime responsibility of any parent. And it should have been accepted that this was legitimate because the facts of the matter were in fact at issue. And those promoting this ideology had clear conflicts of interest. When you see that there's a political agenda at play, you should naturally be wary of deception. And you should know that when you're told about the science and safety and health, that these concepts are all being manipulated. They're all being used against you. They certainly can't be taken at face value. So it was never independently established that unvaccinated children pose this tremendous risk to one another. And of course, there's the question that if your child is vaccinated, why are you afraid of a child who's not vaccinated? How can they endanger those who are not vaccinated? So who are vaccinated? Those who went along with the agenda or supported the agenda, they chose to ignore all these questions. They chose to ignore the dirtiness, the political nature of all these issues, and look the other way and repeat the slogans that it's about health and safety, and we can trust the experts. They should have known better. Maybe they did know better, but they chose to ignore the proof of the agenda and to look the other way, and that was morally wrong. So on the one side, you had the group that said, truth is established by the experts. Only they are entitled to express an opinion, and only the experts who are officially acknowledged and recognized by the establishment, by the government, they're the only experts that count. And you dare not question it, because that's the science. Of course, it's the exact opposite of science. Science is, by definition, an approach to interpreting reality that is constantly subject to questioning, challenge, and conclusions being revised or completely rejected. But this is the attitude that you must accept the official science, the official ideology of what the science is. And you're not an expert, so how dare you disagree with this official story, with the official experts? Well, it's true. Any individual parent may not be an expert, but they're entitled to do their own research. In fact, they're morally obligated to do their own research and listen to what all the experts have to say, not just those that are officially endorsed, but also those who question the official narrative. And each parent is entitled to come to their own conclusions about which experts they feel are reliable and honest, and they will choose to follow. So these this other group, the group of those who view the experts as some kind of God figure, they essentially are guilty of a kind of idolatry. This bowing down to officialdom as the supreme authority, the supreme arbiter of reality. This religion of worship of the state, worship of the medical establishment. And what that is accompanied by is dismissing anyone who questions that official story as a kind of heretic, except they don't say heretic anymore. They say anti-vaxxer, they say conspiracy theorist, they have these derogatory terms, but that's the modern equivalent of calling someone who disagrees with the official state religion a heretic. And so what was the result of this? This choice by these people not to think critically, to view the official story as an absolute dogma, to worship state power and state authority. The result of this was that many thousands of children were in the position of not having any Jewish school to attend. And that's a severe sin. To deny children an education, a religious education, is a severe sin. It should only be done in some situation of truly extreme necessity, where it's literally a matter of life and death. I don't know. Uh, if there are um, marauders roaming the streets, then yeah, your child can't leave the house. But if it's not fully established that there is a real risk, but rather it's only established by the official dogma of the state, then that is unacceptable. That is an extreme sin to deprive those children of the education to which they are entitled, which is their birthright. And the people went along with it, and the leaders went along with it, and some rabbis even pushed it, and they were involved in banning the religious exemption in New York State. And in so doing, they cut off many thousands of children from their peers, from receiving an education, and it went so far as that even shots that were not related to any allegedly contagious disease, but were to allegedly protect against an STD, which how would children be at risk of that, obviously, is the obvious question. So why would you require that for a child and insist that without that they can't receive an education and not allow them into the school based on that? That makes you know, the only reason for that is because we must go along with the state. It's a kind of state worship, and also it's related to fear of losing um, funding or um, and so on. Various political considerations that have nothing to do with health. And here we are. Here we are with COVID, and all these same issues are arising, except that now these same people who called us names and who shamed us as being murderers and lunatics, the shoe is on the other foot. Many of these same people are realizing that the COVID shot is not safe, it's not necessary, it's not effective, and it stinks. It's political. And they don't want it for their children. They don't want it for themselves, and certainly not for their children. And they realize that what is being promoted in the name of health is anything but. It's the exact opposite. It's could, you know, could have the most severe uh, outcomes, and that's what we're hearing. Those are the reports that we're hearing. And so now they are in the very same position as their victims. Not so long ago, where they would want a religious exemption for their children, but now there is no religious exemption because they either participated in removing it or they stood idly by silently as it was removed. And now they don't have it. And now what are they going to do? They're also going to be stuck homeschooling their kids. There'll be vast numbers of parents homeschooling their kids without any uh, solid framework for their children to attend. This is affecting everyone. This this extreme uh, dilemma, this extreme situation. What do you do? So we turn to these parents and these leaders who previously called us names and called us murderers and so naively and willfully uh, accepted the political, suspicious official story of the establishment. And we say to them, you know, now you see what it's like. Maybe now is the time to apologize to us for simply caring about the safety of our children and not wanting them to be harmed. And um, what you did by depriving them of an education was wrong. And we deserve an apology, a mea culpa. God bless.